Okay, so if you would have heard of it, it would be mainly because of two reasons. First, our cricket captain MS Dhoni, and second, it's home to India's second biggest mental hospital. And by the time I end this speech, some of you might think I have some connection to the latter, but let me assure you, contrary to popular belief, I have not visited that yet. So I don't have many memories of my first 4 or 5 years, but I do have some second-hand accounts from my parents and few really embarrassing pictures where they are trying to dress me up like a girl. I know few of you also have those memories. It runs in Indian families, you see. I mean, they have weird fantasy of cross-dressing their kids. I wonder why. So as my mother tells me, I was fat, black, and my mother is not even racist. I was fat, black, and cute. I don't know how. Mothers are mothers. So as I grew up, I managed to make a lot of friends around. Most of them were cute girls from the neighborhood. Somehow, thankfully, they had some weird quirk, a thing for this chubby, not so fair guy next door. And I definitely enjoyed the benefits of it. So those were the wonderful days. Grass was green, skies were blue, and I was in love at 8. And love at 8 is one of the most uncomplicated things. Uh, but like all happiness, it follows by a tragedy. I grew up in a joint family. Now, living in a joint family, it's like living in a life circus. Everybody is doing their own thing, and you can just watch this show, and there's never a dull moment. So, growing up in a joint family, I had a lot of cousins around. And as I grew up into double digits, I happened to make a lot of friends of them. I enjoyed playing cricket with them, getting out thrice. I enjoyed their unlimited supply of comics. But there was some other impact that they had on me. That was, they were moral extremists. So by the time I turned 13, they had me convinced that hanging around with my gal pals, playing with them, even exchanging notes with them, is a sin condemned by Moses himself. So if there was an 11th commandment, it will read something like that. Thou shalt not hang around with women, or thou shalt rot in hell, or being non-macho, uncool teen for the next 8 years of your life. It's very strong words for a 13-year-old. So I gave up. I gave that up, and my love died a very untimely death. By the time I could realize how ill-fitted that advice was, it was all gone, and those were not so happy days of my life. Going ahead. Okay, I must mention another creature who made my life quite eventful. That was my younger brother. He was way more fairer and way more really cute, and not my mother's cute. And as the Indian tradition goes, we became WWF partners as soon as we started walking. And we got really good at delivering choke slams to each other. And thankfully, we did not break anything apart from my dad's bed, and he was not really impressed about it. On the other side of it, chapter 2 was my school life. So now my school life was also interesting. I was a very well-observed kid. The major reason for that was that my dad was the teacher in the same school actually. Now some might think that's a position of leverage, and it's like being a prince of a princely state of your father. But reality cannot be far away. Not only I got special attention from all my teachers, I could never bunk school. I could never look at the charming woman in my class, or I'll be in school headlines the next day. And they never looked back at me either. And that was not because of fear of my father. That was majorly because of my mother. Now, my mother lived in a notion that her love is directly proportional to amount of hair oil she put on my head. And trust me, she loved me a lot. So this is how I looked like, and trust me, that doesn't give you much mileage. In academia, drawing was my biggest nemesis. They never got my modern art, my teachers. I mean, if you draw a mango like a mango, where is art there? So after failing for 18 exams, 27 tests, good long 3 years, it finally gave up on me, and I started getting better grades. And I kept growing up much like my other kids at the school. until I realized one fine day that I'd grown a mustache. Now, a mustache is a big thing, growing up. It makes you feel like mature. So I felt like a man in class 10th. And even my parents thought that I was wise enough to take my career decisions. So they gave me a choice between science, maths, and commerce, and the usual choices. But in reality, I was figuring out how to beat the dragon in Mario and meet the princess. That was my full-time job. I was good at it. Nonetheless, the choices were simple. I chose maths and science because it gave a lot of mileage among relatives. Not because I liked maths and science, but I personally hated maths. Maths was like, workout for the brain. Heavy jump, gym, workout for the brain without any purpose. And my fascination for gym, you can figure out from my tight abs and t-shirt with my biceps. So before I knew I was on one-way track to become an engineer, I went to Manipal to study my engineering. Manipal was amazing, both in terms of place and people. And I made some very weird, crazy friends, and we did some weird, crazy things. The weirdest hobby that we picked up, and we started presenting papers, business plans, and ideas and whatnot. We went to several companies, colleges, symposiums, you name it, and we really got good at it. And there were two things, we even won a lot of events, two things that we learned from it. First, presentation is everything. If you present well, even though your ideas can be as fictitious as salary hikes in NSN, it will still win. And second, if you invite 30 friends for a party in pub, your prize money goes down the drain within 3 hours. So, and at the end of the college, we won a competition in IIT Madras that gave us some seed money to start a business. We started a business. It was a web platform to teach young engineers specifically about their interest areas in the industry. We were also busy trying to figure out our full-time jobs. So our business sank in about 4 months, much like Titanic. Only difference was that Titanic sank in the middle of the middle of the ocean. Ours was pretty much at the harbor itself. So time flew by, and college was over. Recession was on. Recession turned me into a very religious man. It took me 29 temple visits before God intervened and in essence, I was happy. First time in my life, I could give divorces, but I could give divorce to my books without any other money. Also, the tag of R&D engineer gave me a lot of, made me feel very special. I thought I'm going to work on missions to Mars, but my dream was very short-lived because on the day of orientation itself, NSN decided me to gift me a book, 1.5 kg nice book, C++ with Robert Leffler, and then you know the story. 4.5 years fast forward, I'm still trying to figure out where is the research in that engineer job title. And apart from that, apart from pretending to work, I struggle to write poetry, and in free time I try to preach education system to people. Okay, now this timer is looking quite pissed. You might shoot me up a pistol. So let me end this on a short note. My life has been a crazy mess. And in the times of introspection and retrospection, I've tried to figure out some logic, some sense, some plan in it. And there's only one thing I've realized, that life is supposed to be a chaos, life is supposed to be random. And someday, if your life starts making too much sense, go do something crazy. Thank you.